Assets and arbitrage. Yes, we are live 2 days in a row. Um, as stuff keeps happening and rolling out, what are you doing?
Oh, I'll turn the volume up.
Oh, as stuff keeps happening and rolling out, I guess we're just gonna go live as necessary, so that because some of the stuff's time sensitive, and attempt to help you prepare. What are you trying to do?
Just turn the volume all the way up.
Turn around.
Yep.
Did you get it turned up? Did you get to? Okay. Did you want to say something before we got started?
No, no, say same old thing. As we will always say, keep on stacking Satoshis, stacking ounces, just for and being prepared for what is to come. A lot of things are rolling down the pike, and we got a lot of information. Some stuff that people might say is a little, um, you know, conspiracy theorist, but it's real stuff. It's real information that we get from
Mm-hmm.
real. We get from real sites, from real information, from real sources that we do really respect and have faith in. So these are going to be good information. We just wanted to come with almost like an emergency. So some information that we didn't have yesterday that
Mm-hmm.
we found this morning that we thought was pertinent to get out to the family here. So we're going to get into this information, and she's going to break down some stuff, and we're going to talk about how it affects us as a community of whether it's a community of a Bitcoin community, a community of building wealth, even a community of different nations and races. We're gonna get into that. So I'll let her go into.
And really a community of preparedness,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Um, so we were telling you guys to make sure when you go to the supermarket, you get extra cans of non-perishable goods. We talked to you about how to buy meats and stuff. Check out the other shows. Um, but winter is actually coming. Like people are already telling us, summer's gone. It's already fall. It's autumn. It's already getting chilly. Part of your disaster preparedness as well is making sure you have enough medication on hand, for certain ailments and stuff, just in case,
Yeah,
right?
and just not to cut you off, but like you said, winter is coming.
Winter's coming.
In 2 days, maybe 2 or 3 days, we are coming up on the autumnal equinox, right? So that is the end of summer and the beginning of fall, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a changing of energy right there.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a whole show about that, but just understand a changing of energy from moving from summer to fall,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then if you want to expound on
Mm-hmm.
that. Mhm.
So, we worked in healthcare for almost 20 years, and October 1st has always been the beginning of flu season, right? So that's when hospitals and doctors' offices, et cetera, start taking precautions. Moms who are having babies around that time typically can only have the husband in the room. Children under, can you remember what it was? We had 4 kids, but I can't remember what it was. Our children could never come and see their brother, their new brother, because they were always under the age. I can't.
Seven was the age then.
Yeah, it's like 10, 7,
It
something
was
little
7.
like that. With the different variants going around now, I'm sure that those precautions are tighter. They're talking to you guys about a stronger variant coming out here in September. But CBS, Time, and CNBC News came out with a news broadcast on September 12th that caught my attention today. Okay. So it turns out that the FDA panel decided that the active ingredient in many of the decongestants that you guys are extremely familiar with, they're taking it off the market. They deemed it unanimously 16-0 that this particular active ingredient called phenylephrine is not effective, has never been effective, and it's time to take it off the market. And Spidey senses are tingling. Why? Because when I start naming some of the cold and flu, sinus, allergy medication that the phenylephrine is found in, we all know that it does work because we've been using it. And whenever we're sick, it's one of the first things we run to. So let me give you a listing. And this is not limited to, right? There's a lot other medications, but I really tried to compile a list of ones that I thought everybody would be familiar with. Tylenol, cold and flu. Alka-Seltzer Plus, XL3 cold medicine, Robitussin peak cold, Tylenol sinus congestion, Vicks sinus congestion, Benadryl. And it's really Benadryl Plus, right? Because Benadryl Plus has the active ingredient of phenylephrine. Benadryl itself has its own active ingredient. So I don't think they're taking that one off the market. I think it's just the Benadryl Plus. Mucinex, right? Like who's not using Mucinex during flu season?
Yeah.
Advil allergy, NyQuil, and Dayquil, right? So these are staple over-the-counter medications that people have been taking that we know works because it is one of the first things you run to. You know that these things do not cure the flu, they don't cure your cold, but they are absolutely great symptom relievers.
Yes, they are. You know, and we have small children, or we've always had small children.
Always had small
But,
children, y'all. 20 years of small
so
children.
no, you do have to have medications for those symptoms, and the ones that she named are very key medications that we've used over the years with our small children. So you know, it's something really that is important that we should be looking into. I mean, and being aware of if this is what's going on, kind of backhandedly behind our back, so we should be prepared. Okay, do you have to?
Yes. Hi, EM. EM is curious about how we are connected to Isaiah and King, the gentleman of crypto. He said he's followed them for years and expected to see them. So real quick, King Bless and Bitcoin Zay wanted to start a channel that had 24-hour content creation regarding assets and arbitrage, tokens, altcoins, Bitcoin, precious metals. So if you've been following them for years, you should be aware that there are multiple content creators on the channel now that talk about different things in order to help keep you prepared, financial wealth, generational wealth. Our show is about financial wealth and preparedness, but as you can see, if you watched our previous shows, we have a lot of current events right now that are happening that are turning the tide a bit as to some of the strategies that we're used to taking in order for building wealth. We got to be prepared with these other things because you can't build wealth if you're sick, right? We talk about what they're trying to do in the future by consolidating people's properties and stuff, trying to misappropriate wealth from people, so on and so forth. So check the channel out. When you go to Gentlemen of Crypto, if you click live, you'll get to see all of the content creators who are on there. So I hope that answered your question, EM. But thank you for joining us today. So back to what I was telling you guys. Like I said, October 1st is the beginning of flu season. They just did this on September 12th, the FDA. Now, I find it interesting that the FDA decided to review phenylephrine, which we know is at least it worked for us, right? We the people know that it worked. Because they haven't reviewed these things since 1995, as per CBS News, right? So if they haven't even reviewed this drug listing since 1995, how did you decide or deem or realize that it was ineffective now? So in addition to it being ineffective, what does that mean? It means that they're going to be taking it off the market. There are 3 decongestants that are used in over-the-counter decongestant medication. The first one, like we said, is phenylephrine, which they are taking off the market. The second one, I just want to say them right, is phenylpropanolamine. And the third one is pseudoephedrine, which many of you may be familiar with. I don't know if you guys can remember back in 2006, they made it really hard for you to get medication with pseudoephedrine in it because people who have meth labs were able to use that as an active ingredient in making meth. There were a lot of like CVS and other drugstores used to have to show them your driver's license. Walgreens, you couldn't buy more than like 2 of those medications per month. Like there was some type of limit to it. There was a database they were keeping up with. So that's already really difficult to get that medication with pseudoephedrine in it. So now that they're going to be taking the phenylephrine away, that's going to make it even more difficult to get decongestant relief here during this winter that's
Yeah,
coming, this
flu
flu
season
season,
that's coming.
and anything else that may be rolling out. And y'all know what I'm talking about. So, in your errands of getting extra water, extra food, extra this, extra that, you may want to pick up, whichever one of these are your go tos, you may want to pick up one or two extra bottles. They're going to be taking it off the market. It doesn't have an immediate impact. So, it's not like y'all going to go to CVS tomorrow and it's not going to be there. It's going to take some time.
It will take time, and that's the thing. It gives you some time as it's rolling out to get prepared, and like she said, grab some extra bottles of the things that you know that you may need for you and your family. Whether it is if you have small children,
Especially if you
the
have
older,
small children.
so make sure that you get the things that you need. As she says, you prepare. We talked about preparedness, getting extra water, getting extra canned goods, getting extra things like toilet paper, gasoline, all the stuff that you need. You need to be.
And first aid stuff,
Yeah.
right? If
Oh
somebody
man, that's
cuts
big. That's
themselves,
big.
you
First
should
aid.
be able to clean their wounds.
Yep.
You should have cold, flu, allergy. If anybody in your house has allergies, you guys know Benadryl is a go-to. Our
Yeah,
son
things
has
like
asthma,
isopropyl alcohol,
that kind of stuff.
what's the other one?
Hydrogen
Hydrogen
peroxide.
peroxide, stuff like that.
You should have,
Bandages, everything you need, just in case somebody injures themselves, and especially children. We have children in case
they
somebody
don't
injures
sleep
themselves.
at night, right? They're going to cry, they're going to whine, they
Yep.
can't breathe. So you definitely want to grab some of the stuff that you're used to. So they're taking it off the shelves. Why?
Mm.
They're taking it off the shelves. They're saying that it's not effective. But what is that really going to force you to do? If you are ill enough, it's going to force you to have to make a doctor's appointment and get a prescription
Oh
to
yeah,
get something.
let's stop right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because you're saying a big thing. I just wanted to see if the people need the.
No, I answered this question. That's all he wanted.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
yeah.
buddy.
So, yeah, the prescriptions force you to get a prescription for something that you could have bought over the counter.
Right? So how does this have to do with assets and arbitrage? Well, I'm showing you how they reaching into your pockets. So you want to grab these things now. Once it does come off the shelf, you guys are going to be back to doing like neti pots, which is good, right? Some people, some people need immediate relief. So the neti pots, the warm compress on your face. How these active decongestants work is it narrows the blood vessels in the nasal passage to just make it easier to breathe. When your nose is stuffed up, you have these two fleshy like sacs, I'm going to call them. And what they do is they get inflamed, right? And then they touch what is your septum, right? And then they touch your septum, and that's really what that stuffed up feeling really is, right? So that helps to kind of offer an anti-inflammatory to those little sacs of skin so that you can breathe while you sleep. Everybody's seen NyQuil commercials. It's I can't even remember the tagline, but to help you sleep better medicine, right? And that's the whole point of it, is you can sleep and breathe at the same time. So you're really going to have to stock up on this if it's something you absolutely need, but just understand that you are going to have to look for some more traditional methods, some more natural methods of decongestants. Like I said, neti pots,
Hotty toddy.
um, hottie toddies, right? So that's a little bit of rum and some tea. Um, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to decongest you.
Yeah.
Right? The neti pot will, the warm compress to your face should give you a bit of anti-inflammatory relief to your sinuses, because your sinuses are inflamed, they're swollen, and that's what's giving you those headaches. That's what's stuffing you up, all that mucus. Two, we're not doctors, just like we're not financial advisors, right? But what we're trying to do is to help you get prepared for this winter season. Yes, garlic and honey and mason jars. I was just about to say it. Tastes terrible, but it works. Garlic is a natural anti-inflammatory. Honey helps to soothe the soreness in your throat. EM said he's focused and keeping his immune system. Oh, I'm sorry. EM is focused on keeping their immune system built up, because I never know. But Mr. Get him gone Lawson, I know you're due. Garlic and honey and mason jars.
Don't remember.
Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, ginger.
Yeah, ginger,
Ginger.
y'all. That'll clear you up for
Ginger.
real.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but you want to stay away from mucus forming foods, right? Milk. If you guys are heavy into bowls of cereal, drinking whole milk is a huge mucus creator. Apple juice is a huge mucus creator, right? You really want to do things to build up your immune systems this season. Supplements, right? Vitamin B12, vitamin C. Um, Somebody said oh boy, Mr. Lawson, red onions and honey. You must have grew up with your grandmother. Because you talking about all that old school stuff, red onions and honey. Another thing to do, and I know this is weird, but if you take that red onion and you put it on the bottom of your feet and put socks on, it helps to detox you. If you put it on their chest, it kind of helps the respiratory, right? Just cut the onion in half. Red onion is real strong.
Yeah.
Put it on their chest. We live in Mexico. Our son has asthma, and big pharma is not a thing in Mexico, right? That's why medication is so cheap here. So we had taken Junior to the doctor, and we were like, he's got this cough, and I was kind of thinking it was like really, really asthma related, so I thought he might need a prescription or something. So she pulls out her prescription pad and she writes, get 3 pineapples, cut them up, and feed it to him all day for 24 hours. I said, pineapples? She said, yeah. Cough syrup's active ingredient is bromide, which is naturally found in pineapples. Now, granted, we live in Mexico, so our pineapples are natural,
Yeah.
literally from the ground, right? They're not GMO, they're not lab created, they're real pineapples. But I just kind of want to show you the difference in climate, the difference in markets. So, we may have to, like I said, we said this in like 2 shows ago.
Yeah.
We got to get back to some of the old school stuff, the analog stuff we used to do. Because now that we've gotten so digital, it's like they have just way too much control, right? And they can make things super convenient.
Yeah.
And with a Thanos snap, they can take that convenience away and make your life really, really difficult. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because I thought it was odd that you would review that and take that off the market. But I think people up to like booster number 5 and then had COVID 6, 7 times. So these things, right, that get our spidey senses tingling. Again, October 1st starts the mark of flu season. A lot of news reports are talking about a stronger variant in September. You guys really stay safe out there. Keep your immune systems up. Don't be out there eating that junk. We talked about that yesterday. Wendy's, Smash Burger, McDonald's, Dairy Queen, Burger King. Don't eat those free uber duper cheap burgers. Don't eat that mess. We don't know what's in it. Watch that the Simpsons predictive programming episode, right, with Burger Squared. Who has square burgers? Wendy's does. It's the Burger Zombie episode, so definitely watch that. We're not going to stay too long, but as stuff rolls out like this, especially, I don't know how I missed that 5, 6, 7 days ago. So I
Yeah.
thank God Almighty that I caught it this
Yeah, we
morning.
caught it this morning. So, that is the thing is we caught it, right?
Right, we caught it.
So,
And like we said, right at the smack dab start of traditional flu season, what are y'all doing?
and so what we also want to speak on, I had a gentleman last show who wanted to know about flag theory. We talk about flag theory in a few episodes, right? And so, but now we're just getting down to the people need to be ready to, if necessary, you might have to move to another country. I'm not. It's not for everybody because I know everybody can't do it.
Just pick up and leave.
Yeah, just pick up and leave. By the way, your situation is set up. But
But heading
understand.
to a different market helps
Yeah,
to slow down some of basically the steamroller that is really
yeah.
going to just roll all over everybody.
And for the people out there, who have access to second passports, whether you may be a first or second generation American, and you can go back into your family history and get a different type of passport from a different country, that's something you should look into. I mean, and seriously look into it and see if you can get that passport because these things it gives you the ability to go from place to place, have some kind of set up in another place where it may not be as dangerous, or as you, if you will.
But let me
And
explain something too,
yep.
right? Because we're talking to mostly Americans.
Okay.
Americans are creatures of habit more so than almost any other nationality in the world because you're used to conveniences at your fingertips. You're used to a wealth that the rest of the world simply can't even fathom while you think you live paycheck to paycheck. So understand that when you start moving to these different markets, doesn't make sense to go from your city center to the city in this market that you're going to. That doesn't make any sense, right? If you're really going to make the move, it would be beneficial or more beneficial to make a move into a more rural market. With that being said, it's a huge adjustment curve. It's a huge learning curve, right? Because you're going to be what I like to call safer. You're going to be isolated and have the ability to plan and do the things you need to do, right? Your money is going to go where it actually needs to go if you have the ability to do this. But also understand that it comes with a sacrifice. And that sacrifice is the conveniences of a lot of things. Y'all gonna laugh at this, right? Mexico City has Uber Eats and Didi and this and DoorDash and Postmates. Where we live, we don't have that. There's no Uber, there's no Lyft, there's no ride sharing. You're gonna take a traditional taxi where we live, right? We have a car, so it's not a big deal, but I can't get on my phone and order food to the house. Domino's don't even deliver where we're at. You got to
No,
go to Domino's and get it.
and what happens is you gotta run a different type of game or something. No, we have people who will deliver to us, smaller people, smaller restaurateurs who
That
will
we've
deliver.
established a relationship
There
with.
you
That's
go.
not their normal business model.
Yeah, but they will deliver to you because they know that you are somebody who will purchase large amounts of food. So you have to establish relationships. Once you get in these smaller places, it's awkward and it's not what you're used to. But what you have to do is start establishing relationships with people around town. That's a strategy that you just have to employ, and it works. It works though. Say, hey, you call somebody on WhatsApp, say, can you bring me, I don't know, 24 pieces of chicken,
Right.
and they'll deliver it to your house, and you could pay for it next week, and
Right.
that's a nice thing to have in this smaller town because we don't have those things
We
as you
don't have
mentioned,
those
Uber
things.
Eats, Rappi, and all that stuff.
The
So
other thing is, we do not go to the supermarket one day a week and put everything in the fridge and the freezer, right? We have to go to the market every day because the livestock, the chicken, the this, the that, all of that is very fresh.
sure.
It's not, they don't have the steroids. They're not, turkey sized chickens like they are in the US and stuff like that. So your lifestyle is very different, right? Not that they don't have dryers here, but the dryers, for whatever reason, drive that electric bill up to something crazy. So you got to old school hang your clothes on the line, right? So we old school. We have 300 days of sun. Mama washes everybody's clothes here. It's a 6-member family. It goes out on the line. And I'm just basically going into all of that to just explain how a bit of antiquity, a bit of traditionalism helps you to be fluid, to be easily adjust
Yeah.
and fight against what they thought they've programmed into you, right? If we eat better, then you don't need the NyQuil, right? Because you don't have all that mucus forming in your system anyway. When you guys go out, wash your hands, wash your face when you come home, right? Because all that stuff they're spraying in the sky and this and that and the third, all that stuff is contaminants. Wash your hands, wash your face when you leave the house and you come back in. Just little teeny tiny things that we need to just kind of tweak and implement would actually help a lot. Um, Small children, when the winter comes, put gloves on them for real, right? Not just to keep their hands warm, but to just keep them from touching everything and then coming in the house and bringing that guck into the house because let's be honest, depopulation is absolutely an agenda and it is a simultaneously approached strategic goal that they have.
And that they come from many angles because the depopulation is also already in. It's already began,
It's
right?
a workable goal they've been working
Because
towards,
we
yeah.
talked about Western nations are below replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's larger nations, United States,
Mm-hmm.
Canada, they say Australia, parts of Europe, below replacement, meaning people are dying faster than they're being born.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already in placement, and it's a thing that it can't turn around real quick, right? It's like Titanic, you can't turn it that fast. And a lot of that came through the feminism, and you want to have what
All of these
two
other
two
different
point five kids
agendas.
and a dog and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. These agendas, they got
Yeah.
this stuff going on in China where you can only have
One
war.
child. And they've been doing that since the 60s.
So that turns around and turns against them because it becomes below replacement, and you don't have enough people to replace the people who are dying. And what does that mean? Well, that means that you don't have enough people to do the jobs for the people who leave, right? You need people who do these jobs, and there's no one to do these jobs. What?
When we talk
There's
about
a,
jobs,
then you
because
say
we're talking to new people.
you said something about pilots.
Yeah.
There's a problem with pilots, a
Pilots.
problem with firefighters, stuff like that need to be replaced. These
Mm-hmm.
people are retiring, they're moving on, and they need new people to come back and replace them and do the job that needs to be done.
When he talks about the job that needs to be done, for those of you who who are new to the show, he means jobs of infrastructure, right? That linesman who's going to fix the fiber optic cable for the electricity in front of your house, your building, your workplace. That's a skill that's took time to learn, right? People have to apply for those jobs. People get certified to do a lot of those things. Your master plumbers, your like he said, police and fire. So just for an example, Cincinnati, that's the market. My husband used to be a firefighter in that market. They have over
300.
336, I thought
Yeah.
right, retiring.
Retiring them in the next 3 years, and they need
So that's over
replacement.
100 firefighters a year for the next 3 years. You think they're going to find over 100 people to replace those firefighters a year for the next 3
And they're
years?
not,
They're
because
not.
they run the classes, and I mean, I was there, I've been there. They run the classes 20, 25 people, and they run one or two classes a year. So they can't even keep up with that number because even per year, they might get at best 50.
Right. So that's your emergency personnel,
Yep.
right? Your paramedics are even smaller in that pool because not every firefighter is a EM or a paramedic EMT, right? Or EMT. The police, right? We talked about things like that: electricity, plumbing, water sanitation, right? The garbage. All of these very critical, crucial aspects of society, of community that many people turn their nose up at. But let your garbage not get picked up for 2 weeks and see how quickly the community goes into shambles, right? Disease and all of that other stuff that comes with it. So we're bringing all of these things up because your health is important, right? So today's show, and it's no longer conspiracy theories, right? This is just how they're conspiring against you. There's no theory to it. It is what it is. You guys, go ahead. Your homework is to go ahead and Google decongestion is taken off the market, and you're going to see the major markets telling you it was 16-0 unanimous. Oh, no, this doesn't work. Right? And this is actually, this medication was put on the market, I believe, in 1971, 1972. You just realized in 2023 that didn't work. Well, they tell you up front. We always knew that it didn't work. But we the people who pay for this stuff and use it and utilize it. Hi, Voice Crypto, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining. We know that it works because we pay millions and millions and millions of dollars for it every flu season per year. Right? So what is it that you're really doing? And like we said, what you're really doing is you're forcing people to go to their doctor to get a prescription, right? That involves copays, deductibles. So we're looking at a money grab, and that means that's a wealth transfer from you to them. Moms with small children go to school, they go to basketball practice, they go to gym, they go to football practice. As soon as the school season starts, everybody's sick, right? They get on that bus in all of these areas where they are densely populated with other children who have their own ailments. Well, we don't do chicken pox anymore. That was back when we was young. But Y'all understand what I'm saying? Now that means if you have more than one child and the kids get sick, that's 1, 2, 3 prescriptions, right? And typically parents with small children or even high school age children, because them kids get sick too.
Yeah.
You taking them to the doctor, if there's more than one of y'all in the house, that thing gonna fly around the house, it's gonna rotate around the house. Mom always gets sick because she take care of them babies. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 prescriptions per doctor's appointment. Just see how that money add up real quick. Like Foxy Brown style. Remember when she did
Yeah,
that?
and so and which she's right, and that's the thing, and we have to keep an eye on what's going on right there. They're taking these things off and forcing you to go get a prescription, right? Forcing you, like she said, co-pays all year long, copay, 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 copay. Now you're looking at people's jobs. What are their deductibles? Deductibles getting super high now.
Deductibles are nuts,
I'm
y'all.
seeing 5,000, seven
It's
thousand, ten
nuts.
thousand. So you could pay all year without really getting a lot of help from your quote unquote
Insurance.
health insurance,
Yep.
that good health insurance that you get. So you got to keep your eye on that.
And even people who have Obamacare that don't necessarily have that type of financial obligation or burden, just understand that big pharma and insurance companies, they working together, and
Mhm.
there is a wealth transfer still, no matter how you look at it, right, from the people to corporations. Hi, Black Business Crypto Group. What's going on, family? Thank you so much for joining us. So just understand that there's a wealth transfer, and we talked about this briefly yesterday.
Mhm.
Our show is called Assets and Arbitrage. We've been doing this for a long time, and we typically look at events, we look at situations, we look at markets, we look at cities, we look at countries. Where is the arbitrage or the financial opportunity
Yeah,
there?
we do.
Right? For those of you who went to business school, understand that right now they are setting it up. The corporations are setting it up to where there are multiple layers of barriers to arbitrage, where we could easily find great opportunities for arbitrage and get a little bit of wealth transfer. You are being like blocked out. And the only people who are having access to these areas of arbitrage are other corporations. Now, remember what I said yesterday for those of you who were on, 6 major corporations own everything. They own all those other corporations. When you start connecting the dots back, it's just 6 major corporations that own everything, and 13 families are the beneficiaries of those corporations, at least in the United States. There's about 2,600 million billionaires. And when I say millionaires, I'm talking like $500 million or more, like headed towards billionaire road. Right? How many Americans are in America? You told me about 330, 300.
330,
Let's say
330,
350.
350.
Let's say there's 350 million Americans, 2,600 multimillionaire billionaires in the United States.
Right. And that's the United States. That's the like I said, that's living in the richest neighborhood because we told you we brought you a show a good while ago, but still the numbers are still relevant. About a little bit over $4,000 gets you at the 50 percentile in the world. So if you got $4,000 or an income of $4,000, right? You're in the 50th percentile. Now you get up to now about $80,000. Now you're getting to the 10th percentile
In the world,
in
though.
the
In the
world.
United States, those numbers are skewed because billionaires
Well,
like
they're rate adjusted.
they
Right?
are rate
Rate
adjusted,
adjusted.
like Gates and the Rockefeller
But
family,
you
the
see,
Rothschilds who
you
live in
see
New York.
people like the good brother Andrew Henderson. Check him out, Nomad Capitalist, over in Kuala Lumpur. So you have some kind of income, whatever your income may be. You'd be a top end earner in this place, and I can name you a lot of places where you would be top end earners. Where in the United States, you're struggling from paycheck to paycheck. We talked about it last show with TikTok people who say this is the most I ever
And
made.
they were all over the happiness index of $70,000. So
Yep.
the happiness index of over $70,000 isn't $70,000 in the U.S. anymore, and certainly not in most places in Europe. But I'm just showing you how they trying to finesse wealth from you in a different way. But not only that, this is a matter of preparedness as well, right? So, like I said, if NyQuil is your go to, if Tylenol, cold and flu is your go to, whichever one of these, Benadryl Plus is one of your go tos, right? If you have, there are some people who are predisposed to sinus allergy issues. If those things are your go-to, you definitely want to sit down and formulate a plan, do some research on some alternative options to give you the relief you need so that you can get better faster and get back to doing the things that you need to do in life, right? But keeping watch on now what else are y'all going to do, right? Now how else is the wealth transfer? When Bitcoin had that bull run, they were like, hell no, we need to sit down and come up with a way because too much money was being transferred from, I don't even know what to call it, from the ether to the people. And they can't have that because people who have wealth, people who own things, people who have ownership. And remember, Bitcoin is property in cyberspace. You
Yes,
have
it is.
Bitcoin, you own property even if you're not a homeowner, right? That ownership, we cannot control you because your mindset's different. So we have to find ways to get you off your square, right? Get you anxious, scared, fearful. That way I can move you around the way I need to move you around.
That's what she's right, boy. That's that gospel. That was gospel right there. She told the entire truth. She has to you have to figure out how to get people fear because you know Bitcoin we talk about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but she's talking about the main one, which is fear. And if you get people fearful and scared, and you can move them off their
Anxious.
square,
You could just move them
anxious,
around where you want
move
to.
them around like you want to. And so, yeah, that was gospel right there.
So you definitely want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And this show is not gloom and doom. It's not fear mongering. It's, hey, this is what's going on. This is what the wealth transfer that they're trying to attempt. And these are the moves that we have to make as the community in order to mitigate some of the damage that could be caused if you're caught unawares, right? You got to really, really be on top of the wiles of the devil. You got to be on top of it. You got to have your armor on.
Yeah.
Right? That's Ephesians 6, y'all. You got to have your armor on and be aware of the wiles of the devil. So that's what the show is for today. Simon and I are working on some other things. It's just that this caught me by surprise. And I said, oh no, we're going to go on there. We're going to tell them, y'all, get prepared for flu season,
Yeah.
right? It always happened on October 1st, way back to when my mom was just a nurse with a little white hat on and a little apron, right? She was like a junior nurse or something. That was a long time ago, y'all. So that's always been, but just us sitting watching and understanding that there's all these variants and all these things and all this, that, and all the third and something new. There's a new crisis. If it's health related, get the things you need and have them. Right? If the electricity goes out, you have your medication and extra food and extra water at home. Right? Make sure you have first aid kits. This is not just about cold and flu medication, right? Make sure you have first aid kits. If somebody cuts themselves, if somebody's injured, if somebody even, sprains an ankle or something because it's dark, they were trying to go downstairs. Remember, on October 4th, they're going to send out that emergency broadcast. We don't know why. We don't know for what. They're claiming that it's just a test, right? Because we trust you, right? So you don't know what's coming and you don't want to be fearful. And you're more confident when you batten down the hatches, as they say, and have your stuff in place.
I mean, we could do a whole show about this, and I may do a whole show about it, but I'm going to mention it. As she's saying about people having their first aid kits, having some injuries, maybe some sickness, some illness. Not everybody has a family uh, to help them.
Take care of them, right?
So if you do live alone, make sure you have your plan in place for maybe people who that can help you when you have some kind of injury, some illness, some sickness, because far too often people get injured, have problems. They might even have a surgery. It could be something as simple as a knee replacement, but you would need somebody close to you to help you.
Right.
So make sure the people maybe who are single or maybe divorced, whatever that widow, widower, have something in place, right? Have something in place because it's going to get hard out here. It's going to get difficult. So, we want to speak to those people because
Right.
that is a sect of people that we need to talk to.
If you have diabetes and your blood sugar tends to run low, your first aid kit should have hard candies in it, or a candy bar or something like that. But really should have hard candies because those do a lot better. Maybe a 2 liter of soda with sugar in it, right? Keeping in mind that if you have chronic injuries, we always just assume that if the electricity go out in the United States, it's going to be back on in a couple hours. We don't know what they're up to. We don't know what they're planning.
Yeah.
So you always want to kind of plan for the worst and be prepared for the best, right? I should say plan for the best and be prepared for the worst. I said it backwards. Hey Bam Hardrick is on. He said when emotions are high, logic is low. Yeah, when that anxiety starts to hit and the cortisol raises, it's hard for your brain to really focus and concentrate because you're kind of going in a fight or flight, really.
You are.
Um,
You definitely are, and
it's hard to stay focused.
I'm still gonna circle back because I have a couple people that I know who have seizure disorders who live alone, and I had a friend who had a seizure disorder. He had a seizure out in public, broke his jaw, and was arrested by the police.
So they thought he was drunk.
Right, and so you have that. We all know about. I mean, from my people who are familiar with the NFL, my good brother from the Denver Broncos. I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
Dang, man, it escapes me. I'm sorry. But he had a seizure in the shower, hit his head, and died. But he lived alone. And
It was
these
like
are the.
Deshaun Watson or something.
No, Deshaun Watson is the other. Dang, Reginald would know it right now.
Reginald would know it.
But I'm sorry, I don't. It hit me in the chat if you know it. But he hit his head in the shower after having a seizure and died. And because he lived alone. But before that happened, he said he was scared that he was going to have a seizure because he lived alone. So, for our people who live alone, we got to be prepared in that regard.
Have your
Right.
medications in
Yeah,
place.
medications, have everything in place. There's a thing that they have for paramedics and stuff in your fridge that you have in a little capsule that tells the different medications that you might be on. Also, your lifeline.
Right. If
your
you're
lifeline
diabetic, you should be
bracelets.
wearing that. If you have cardiac
Yeah.
issues, you should be wearing that. So if a first responder comes to you or a family member who's unresponsive, they'll know what to do immediately if there's nobody there
Yeah,
to
and they
tell
still,
them.
and they still, I ain't jokingly, but they still have the, I forget what you call it, but they
Life
have
alert.
life alert. They still have the life alert for the people who live alone.
I'm following it.
And yeah, so you need that for people who may be living alone and have some health issues. So that's just something that we have to keep in mind as a community. You might have a friend or somebody that you can trust, to help you with that your problems that you're having. So that's something we also have to keep in mind. We got to keep a lot of stuff in mind, y'all.
Y'all should also have
Yeah.
portable chargers for your cell phones in case the electricity goes out for a significant period of time. Again, I don't know what the emergency broadcast test is for on October 4th. Is it for the zombie burgers they serving this week? We don't know. But we do know that the more you know, the better you can be prepared and not feel as anxious, right? For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And you can have power, love, and a sound mind when you kind of have an idea on how to be strategic. And that is the one thing that they're not prepared. They are not expecting. Their expectation is that people are sheeple and they don't know what to do and they rely on us. Because you got to remember, greed and pride, them two spirits walk together, y'all. Them two demons walk together hand in hand. And they feel like we're educated, we're rich, we're elites, we're this, we're that, and we're smarter than everybody. And they just assume that the masses are stupid. So one defeat in that game already is knowing what the game is, and the game is the wealth transfer is what I could have bought for $7.59 is now going to cost me $70.59 because I got to go pay this copay and get a prescription from my primary care physician.
Yes, indeed. And we have family, friends, loved ones in the United States who are actively dealing with the healthcare system there,
Oh, yes,
and
it's
having
terrible.
a lot of problems.
It's terrible.
And so,
And the shortage, right?
yeah,
Mugs are burning out. We love healthcare because we burnt out, right? I work in tech now. I haven't done healthcare in like 4 or 5 years. So just understand that there's also a shortage in healthcare. Um, so they just assume that with the overconsumption, that's just making people sicker and sicker. People are leading more sedentary lifestyles, especially with the work from home explosion is what I'm gonna say, right? They were really watching and doing psychological analysis during the pandemic when we were all on lockdown, and everybody gained 20 to 30 extra pounds. That's what they were watching and expecting, so that they can continue rolling the steamroller slowly over sedentary, morbidly obese, not so smart Americans, because that's how they see us. So we know the game. This is how we're going to be prepared. This is how we're strategic. And that way, those particular arrows, right, that have been formed against me cannot prosper. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So we ask for y'all to be safe. Um, if you guys are ever in here, even if it doesn't have anything, he said, yes, the weight piled on. Well, we gotta lose that weight, Ian. We can do it. um, we love y'all. We want y'all to be safe. Start coming up with plans. For those of you who really rely on us, this is your go-to. Start looking at what your alternative options are, right? What other decongestants can you use? What are some other things that would unstuff a stuffy nose? Do you need to buy a humidifier? Do you need to buy the Vicks vaporizer, right? Do you need to go and get those things that you didn't necessarily have because you would just go grab a bottle of NyQuil? Voice Crypto says, also in the passing of life, cemetery plot costs are going up. Yeah, they are, because of the crises that are happening. Again, it's another arm of the wealth transfer. You got to have good insurance. I'm going to tell y'all a quick story, and then I'm going to let y'all go. But before World War II, the average citizen who had a home, who was a homeowner, and it was a lot, right? Of Yeah, because black people, yeah, we had our places too. But let me talk about the white people for now, right? But anyway, before World War II, I don't know if you guys remember, depending on how old you were, when loved ones passed away, you get buried in the backyard, and then you would have the plot in the backyard. When World War II happened, in a way to kind of like raise funds and stuff, they started implementing all of these taxes. That's when you notice the start of, I'm going to call them external cemeteries, but basically community cemeteries. Don't bury your dead on your property, because if you bury your dead on your property, you don't pay taxes on the house, right? There's a special clause for that. So what they did was they started giving you all of these different beautiful amenities. It's more luxurious to bury your loved one here. We have a beautiful service. We provide the flowers. We basically do everything. We'll embalm the dead for you. We'll wash them. We'll do this, all this. So you weren't an active, your dad didn't stay in the house for 3 days while you had the wake. It really pulled them away from burying the dead in their backyards. But what it did do is, now you have to pay for a plot. Some people have to pay taxes on that plot. It's crazy.
And once they lost home ownership, then there's not even an option.
And for those who kept home ownership, because you don't have dead people buried on your property, you are subject to taxes. Not penalties, but taxes. You're penalized with taxes on the house. Yes, they are. And it was a way to help raise money for the war.
Yeah, it was. And they did many other things to raise money for
they did a whole bunch of other stuff.
We can go into all
But he
that.
brought up the cemetery, so I wanted to make that. And I want to tell you something else. My dad died in 2020, and they were trying to sell us, he was cremated, they were trying to sell us a memorial.
I understand. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember.
They wanted $3,000 to put his urn in this thing, and then we had to pay on it every year. I said, what happens if you don't pay on it? Then you better come and get your loved one. Right? Not to be funny, but I laughed, right? It was the first time I had laughed since my father died. I died laughing. I said, well, you go on and give me my father and let me take him home, because we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it gets ugly.
But other people do that because, of the superstition. They don't want an urn in the house and this and that. It may be more convenient for them. but it is a significant wealth transfer.
You're right. So, I mean, we don't want to keep them too long. I mean, catch the catch right here if that is anything.
Reno Gamble said the last show was straight fire. Thank you so much, Reno
Oh,
Gamble.
okay. Yeah.
I hate that
I hate it.
the elites conspiring against us is great content. I hate it. I really do.
Okay.
I wish we had better news that the wealth transfer was going in the opposite direction, but thank you so much for your comments. Reno also wants to know about our thoughts on gun ownership in Mexico. It's the no.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can't do it because if you get caught with a gun, it's heavy penalties. I believe it's 10 years
Yeah.
off the rip.
And
So,
those who do have guns, typically when we talk about cartel activity, that's all border stuff. So that's typically cartel activity in border areas that are pushing up towards the U.S. because that's where the problem is, where they need the guns. So the answer is no. Any more questions before we get up out of here? And we don't even have set days and times for the lives. I hate that we don't do that either. Simon and I, we do run businesses together, and we do homeschool our children. Y'all,
yes,
it's crazy.
things come up and we will
We'll just
pop
come
in.
live. Yeah, but I wish we could give y'all a bit more notice. And we're gonna go live as often as we have everything cemented, concrete, and receipts for you. Because sometimes, like, I'm working on something now, but we just need to kind of vet it a little bit deeper. And I'm waiting for the events that are taking place in the World Economic Forum. They've been really, really quiet, so that has me really, really suspicious. And that's all we're waiting for you guys. All right, well, I hope you guys have a good evening, and we'll likely see you later on this week. Now, y'all know I don't know how to end the live stream. Here we go. Bye, y'all.